Hello everyone, welcome back to the Vinyl Brotherhood. I have this record right here by an old favorite, a band called Beachwood Sparks. This one's been a long time coming and I can't wait to discuss it with you, so get comfortable, maybe grab a nice hot drink, and we'll get started here momentarily. I consider it a genuine pleasure to be able to review a new Beachwood Sparks album with you today. If you aren't familiar with them, these guys are practitioners of a style of music that they once called cosmic country. And if it were up to me to describe it, I'd simply tell you to think of your early 2000s dream pop band of choice and imagine them time traveling to the 70s and having to become a country or folk rock band like the Byrds or the Eagles. They've been one of my go-to bands for at least a decade now, and this album, Across the River of Stars, has been one of my most highly anticipated of the year. It's their first album in about 12 years, and the last one came about 10 or 11 years after the previous one. So hopefully this won't be the last time we hear from them until 2030 something. Of course, after a decades-long wait, it's easy to assume that this group of guys are at a totally different place in life, and we might be curious as to how that translates in their work. What I can practically guarantee, if I know my Beachwood Sparks, is that this album will be engaging, enormously creative, and memorable. So let's do this. It's off to the record player. So let's take a quick moment to appreciate my Beachwood Sparks collection back there. That's their first album. Right next to it, hopefully I'm not in the way, we have Tarnished Gold. That's their third album. I don't have Once We Were Trees. I think that was released on vinyl at some point, and I missed out. I was probably too young. I wasn't collecting vinyl at the time, and I don't know that they've reissued it. But here's a new one, Across the River of Stars. Very, very colorful. I like the magical mystery tour kind of type there. And here's a fun thing. The sleeve has a big die cut in it. And we get that. And this must be the River of Stars in question, but that's a lot of fun. Not a lot in the way of liner notes, so the credits are just mostly here on the back. I actually wasn't loving this album art when it was first revealed. At the time, I could have sworn it was just placeholder art. But now seeing it up close, I am impressed with the line art, and I think it actually suits the music therein very well. Also, very colorful is the artwork and the sound for their 2000 self-titled debut, the one I just showed you over there. And from the get-go, as I was listening to track one entitled My Love, I felt it had perhaps more in common with that early day aesthetic. While they've always played a nice balancing act between that indie psych pop flair and their West Coast country sound, I don't know that they've presented themselves as quite this lively or as cowboys since those good old days. Their 2001 effort, Once We Were Trees, saw the guys plunging headfirst into something more lush, experimental, and resolute. And then they vanished for a decade and came back in 2013 with the more mature, albeit stripped down, alt country offering, The Tarnished Gold, an album that I adore and consider to be highly, highly underrated. Go listen to it if you haven't done so. So I was very much enjoying this progression, and if it were up to me, they would have picked up where the Tarnished Gold left off. But this isn't my project, and the significant change in direction is probably to be expected after a 12-year break. I'll quit rambling, but to be clear, I'm not suggesting that they're revisiting the sound of their self-titled. I just don't remember Beachwood Sparks being this vibrant and straightforward in their approach to rock since the year 2000, almost 25 years ago. On My Love, you'll notice the meat and potatoes riffing on those guitars in a ginormous gesture as if announcing their grand return, like the cowboy riding into the town, you know, that whole thing. A couple of minutes in, it transitions to something starkly different, and this is the kind of experimentation that I both welcome and expect from Beachwood Sparks. Actually, it's almost like a completely different song. They hit the brakes for a moment, and what we end up with is a sweet little love ballad. And from here on out, you'll recognize those Beachwood Sparks hallmarks, like those dreamy vocal harmonies and the bouncy bass parts. Barring the cool introduction to the album, I honestly don't think Across the River of Stars has like the strongest, most mind-blowing start. The first 3 tracks basically just serve the purpose of reminding us that the band is still here and what they're all about, setting the mood a little bit. You can already picture yourself trekking through the California desert. On a report card, I think these first few songs would fall squarely under the meeting expectations, you know? They're certainly pleasant enough and very well performed, but it's the middle third of the record where things really take off. And you might notice that these songs have a smidge more interest baked in as well. You'll immediately notice that Gentle Samurai is already a bit more ambitious in scope, transporting you with its sweeping chorus and lively arrangement. Keyboards man, Farmer Dave, does more than his fair share, but you could see Gentle Samurai as his big moment on the album. The next song is a gentle pop tune titled Gem that certainly lives up to its name. The weightless, easy listenability of Gem is undergirded by its earworm melodies, and it bounces along at a brisk pace, leading us to a dramatic resolution and onward to Faded Glory. I would describe Faded Glory as cozy 1970s country perfection. For a hopeful song about overcoming adversity and ending well, I can't imagine a better person to deliver this vocal than Chris Gunst, with that light and wavering singing voice of his. The album has definitely found its footing by now, and thankfully the last third manages to keep up that momentum. I was quite intrigued with the wild, whimsical guitar tones of Dolphin Dance, and I'm curious to know how they achieved that sound. The whole song is kaleidoscopic and saturated in its country rock stylings. As slight as it may be, it is a nice diversion before High Noon, another fantastic Chris Gunst slow jam that feels a bit reminiscent of those slow burn entries from Once We Were Trees. You'll love the group vocal work on this one. They sound wonderfully nostalgic here, a vibe that's only reinforced by the analog aesthetic. The album closes out with Wild Swans, which sounds much more like a laid-back summertime power pop tune, more than like anyone could have expected. And it's actually a really solid tune. It's been stuck in my head all day. But by the time you realize it, it's over. That's it at barely 2 minutes. It's a hopeful and poignant, but fairly abrupt end to the short and sweet album. And I wouldn't have been offended if they stuck around for another track or two. The 10-song minimum is by no means enshrined in law, but I can't help but feel the way I did when we had a team potluck at work and everyone decided on finger foods. Imagine how my heart sank when it dawned on me that there wasn't any meat present. Across the River of Stars is by no means a disaster of that magnitude. It's actually quite good, but I do find it to be on the lean side. At 29 minutes, there may be less time and opportunity for any serious missteps, but there aren't as many chances to rock my world either. I can at least respect that it's succinct, there's no time wasted, and I still have much more praise to give. I love the way the album sounds. It's very well executed, but slightly and refreshingly on the unpolished side, perfectly suiting the rugged Western feel. And the performances are involved and often inspired. So many of those guitar passages are so natural, even in their complexity. It makes me curious as to how much might have been improvised. And that multi-part harmony blend that these guys have is one of a kind. And that will always be a big part of Beachwood Sparks' appeal to me. And they certainly didn't miss a step in regards to those ethereal vocal stacks. So yes, for what it is, I found it to be very enjoyable, some fun, colorful ideas and solid songwriting throughout, but I do think it is fairly light on the substance. Even the bangers somehow taper out before you've really had a chance to sink your teeth into them. I've got a little bit more to say, but I'll save it for our verdict. So I guess we can grab this lovely LP and head on back. So did the new Beachwood Sparks album live up to my wildest hopes and dreams? Well, yes and no, mostly yes. This is a very different album with very different goals, so it wouldn't be fair to compare it 1-to-1 against the experimental tour de force of Once We Were Trees or the thoughtfully crafted Tarnished Gold. I don't know that Across the River of Stars has the right engine under its hood to even attempt to reach those same heights. So from that angle, I might be slightly disappointed, but I guess I can't be too upset because the final product is still a fine and capable effort by legends of the scene. I can hardly believe it exists, and on its own merits, it's a really nice time, only getting better with each listen. I think it helps to see the record not as a big comeback, but rather a sweet little epilogue to tie a nice bow on that legacy. Although I hope it's not actually an epilogue. I'll take a Beachwood Sparks and all the Beachwood Sparks I can get, even if it's a 9-song collection of eclectic hors d'oeuvres. So if I were to score Across the River of Stars by the legendary Beachwood Sparks today, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. I'm slightly unsure about its longevity to score it any higher, but there are definitely some highly enjoyable songs on the album that will be making my Beachwood Sparks playlist, namely Gem, Faded Glory, and High Noon. Well, if you listen to this album or you're a big Beachwood Sparks fan, I'd encourage you to hit up that comment section below and offer your 2 cents. Feel free to tell me how wrong I am, or I don't know, validate me for my correct opinion. That's fine too. And if you want, you can even click on that like button and subscribe to the channel. That'd be nice, right? And then you can peer pressure your friends into doing the same. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for your viewership and for giving us a moment of your time. We just hit 600 subs the other day, and that's just a small milestone, but it has been awesome to see this little community grow and to read all the comments. Y'all have been so good to us and we appreciate it. Anyway, that's about all we've got, so do me a favor and enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back again soon with more right here at the Vinyl Brotherhood. Take care.